Hello, everybody. I'm Donna Anderson, author of lovefraud.com, and today I have with me Travis Vining. Travis has an incredible story, and he's written a book which refers to it, which is called Miracle in the Madness, Grateful to be the Son of a Murderer. Now, Travis is going to be doing a webinar for Love Fraud Continuing Education called Self-forgiveness, Understanding and Letting Go of Guilt. So, Travis, I'm so glad to be with you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Donna. I'm grateful to be here with you today as well.
Okay. So, your story is very dramatic, and your father committed murder and then enlisted you to help cover it up. How did you react to that?
You know, when you mention that it's a dramatic story, it's not that much different than yours and many of those on your site and those that come in contact with love fraud. And it's interesting the way that you had described that. And yes, in the title of my book, I do say grateful to be the son of a murderer. It wasn't always that way. I think, and also I think you used the term enlisted me. He actually murdered several people in 1987 in Orlando, Florida. And one of the most interesting dynamics of the sociopath, I think what's difficult for most of us to accept and understand is just like we don't know what it's like not to have a conscience, a sociopath doesn't know what it's like to have a conscience. So when my father was committing some of these crimes, he was telling me some of the details. The part about enlisting me to help him, what happened was he realized that I might be a threat to him and might turn him into police. And he kind of tricked me into putting me in a position where I actually helped him destroy evidence from a murder. And the question you asked about that, and one of the reasons I teach this class and get involved with this sort of thing is I actually punished myself for that for years. And it wasn't just guilt and excessive guilt and unconscious guilt that I was dealing with. It was self-punishment, self-hatred, self-condemnation. You know, I didn't quite understand the relationship and what my father had done to me. So for me, I had all kinds of emotional and physical issues that I dealt with, and including chronic back pain, migraine headaches, and digestive system issues. So for me, my experience is if these things aren't dealt with, they can be quite harmful to us. And it literally brought me to my knees.
Yeah, really. So all of us who have been victimized by sociopaths intellectually know that it was the abuser who did the unacceptable behavior. So why do we feel guilty?
You know, like I had mentioned, and it's not just guilt, because guilt in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, guilt is primarily a learned behavior. It comes from our family upbringing, society, what we get exposed to in religion. It's actually regret for past action, and also is an educative emotion, which can be quite helpful. But many of us that experience the trauma of being victimized by a sociopath go well beyond that to excessive guilt and even unconscious guilt. And that is very harmful. But there are multiple things that go into this. But two of the primary causes of that, the root causes, if you will, are actually based in falsehood and illusion. And one of them is that we really struggle with this unwavering belief that somehow the past should have been different, which actually is not possible. And when you think about it intellectually, it's a very difficult thing, and not accepting that and that resistance to it creates a lot of pain. And then the other one is this idea that we should have known better. And this one causes all kinds of issues within ourselves. But the most interesting part is this is not true. And the person that we are today is different than the person we were when these things occurred. In retrospect, and now having some understanding, it's easy for us to look back and say, well, we should have seen that, we should have known this, or we should have known that. But the reality is at the time, we didn't, and we were incapable of that. So these are the issues. It really turns into self-punishment and self-condemnation. And this is the problem for us that we need to address and deal with that goes well beyond just the feelings of guilt and some normal regret for the past.
So how can these feelings of guilt harm us?
Well, in many ways, and I think I even mentioned it in the beginning, you know, for me, it was both emotional and physical. On the emotional side, and I think some of the people that are seeing this can relate to that feeling of the depression that comes with this cloud of uneasiness that goes with us wherever we go. So it can lead to depression, addiction, and even suicide in some cases. On the physical side, it can do all kinds of things to us. And I mentioned migraine headaches and chronic back pain. Oftentimes it shows up in illnesses that they can be diagnosed, but they're difficult to treat. And doctors have a hard time understanding where they actually come from and where they originate from. So it can also express itself in us in physical ways. And beyond that, it affects our current relationships. It really poisons our relationships and possible future relationships, even with loved ones and family that are around us.
Right. So what are some of the techniques that you'll be offering during the webinar to help people overcome these feelings?
Well, I think that's the most important part. Part of the webinar is dedicated to bringing awareness to this, what it is, how we respond to it, how it affects us, and how it can harm us. Because the first step of recognizing and having awareness of it is the most helpful. But beyond that, we have different suggestions and ideas and techniques that can be used to help accelerate the healing process. Some of those can be meditative, helping to heal the inner child within us, and self-forgiveness and forgiveness, understanding what forgiveness is and what it really isn't. Forgiveness is not so much about them, it's about ourselves, and journaling. And there's some other things that we can do, as I said, to really help accelerate that. I think at the end of the day, there's an old saying that time heals all wounds. That is not true, especially when it comes to our most traumatic experiences in our lives. Time can make things worse, can infect them. It takes violent twists and turns in our personalities, affects those around us. So it's very important that we recognize it and deal with it as soon as possible, because we do have the opportunity to get free of it. We just need help in doing that. And for me, I got it from others that had experienced it. There's thousands of people like you and me and others that have overcome these things in their lives and actually wind up living a better life as a result of it. But the first and most important part is getting past that part of pain and suffering. And there are ways to do that that are most helpful and shorten that period of time so we can get on with our lives.
Okay. Well, I'm really looking forward to this program, Travis. I know that you're a wonderful presenter and that this is such valuable information. So I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. Very grateful for it. Looking forward to it as well.